This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we get new information on Gears of War E-Day and how they are going back to their roots. We potentially get new story information on GTA 6. We find out how long Star Wars Outlaws campaign is. And a list of unannounced games has been leaked. All of these stories can be found here and maybe one or two more in episode 214 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. Welcome. It is always a privilege and a pleasure to have you guys here. Now, before we officially get started into this episode, if you want to be a part of the next listener feedback, and matter of fact, I got to shout out Cody Clark for that. But if you do want to be a part of the next listener feedback episode, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in, and the phone number is 443-380-0281 and let your voice literally be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is simply theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Now, you guys might notice that I am recording this episode quite a few days early, and that is because on Sunday I would not be able to actually have something to do, and it was no way I was going to be able to record on Sunday. So I wanted to make sure that I got an episode out to you guys, and I'm saying all of that to say consider this the Sunday episode. Also, I want to shout out again to Cody Clark. I got your email, brother. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put it on the back burner until next week. I appreciate you writing in. I always do. Thank you so much for that. I also want to shout out to Mr. Crimson Phoenix as well. Shout out to you as well, brother. It was great hearing from you. And I also want to shout out to Mr. Lawrence Jones as well. I want to shout out to Mr. Lawrence Jones again because he is the guy. He is the man that runs the Analog Circle Facebook group. He continues to keep the group up to date with all the news that is going on in gaming. He's been fantastic, always showing support. And I just wanted to say thank you, my brother. Thank you to all of y'all. It is greatly appreciated. I definitely do not take it for granted. Thank y'all. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news that went down. So I want to get things started in this episode with Avowed, because based off of a story I got from Windows Central, you will have the option to switch between first person or third person perspective, which is fantastic because I didn't even see that happen during the Xbox show. Matter of fact, hold on. I would be remiss if I did not put more respect yet again on that Xbox show by saying that was the most phenomenal Xbox show I have ever seen. A 9.5 all day. 9.5, nothing less. It was absolutely stunning what they were able to show. I have to get a Series X. I have to. I am sold. The amount of games, the amount of different announcements. You know what? I'm getting sidetracked. Matter of fact, we're going to take that. I'm going to compartmentalize that, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. Hence the question of the week, but we'll get there in a little bit. But let me get back to this Avowed story. So, like I was telling you guys, you'll be able to switch between first person and third person perspective. Now, also, according to Jennifer Young, who wrote this article, Obsidian accidentally leaked the launch date of the game, which it's supposed to release on November 12th, 2024, which is fantastic news, because I know that a lot of people, as I was looking at different streams and listening to different people's, their takes on the show, a lot of people were mad that they did not see a release date on some of these games. And I get it. I honestly do. But I was just so caught up in the show being so great. I was like, y'all get a pass. But for those that are looking forward to Avowed and you didn't see that date, because I darn sure know I didn't see anything, you can at least somewhat rest, easy knowing that November 12th is allegedly the release date. So you will be getting Avowed before the end of the year, if and only if this report is true. Now, outside of that, another piece of information actually came out, and this was from the game's director, where her name is Carrie Patel. She actually came out and said, and this kind of makes it at least a little more believable about that November 12th date being true, because she actually came out and said that the game is in its final polishing stages. So we will see what happens with this when the time comes. I'm truly hoping that this comes out this year, because I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So even though Sony just had their State of Play event, they are not sitting on the sideline quietly, because according to an article that I got from Comic Book, that was written by Logan Moore, Insomniac Games has announced that 8 new suits will be coming to Spider-Man 2 on June 18th, which will include the Peter B. Parker suit from Into the Spider-Verse, the Last Stand suit, Motor Chic suit, and Floral suit. All of those will be available for Peter Parker. Now, when it comes to Miles Morales and his suits will include the Jenga suit, spelled Ginga, Jenga suit. It's going to have the Metro suit, Uptown Pride suit, and animated suit. Now, the last suit on the list, now this is said to be, quote, reminiscent of classic cartoons and comics of old, end of quote. So in addition to the suits, the studio will also be sending out a patch that will add, quote, the ability to swap out your parry and traversal abilities from the symbiote to Spider-Man arms and vice versa, end of quote. Now, there will also be a number of bug fixes and stability improvements released to give players a more enjoyable experience. So it just seems like no matter what, Insomniac, they continue to feed their fan base. I do know that in that article, it was said by Insomniac that they were listening to the community. They're always listening to the different feedback that people want. And that's the reason why these suits came over. And I will say that last suit is very, very interesting. That quote, reminiscent of classic cartoons and comics of old. I wonder, are they going back to the 80s Spider-Man? Are they going back to the 90s Spider-Man suit? I'm not sure, but either way, they continue to add that value to the game. That game came out in October. They're still continuing to show their support for it. And just the fact that they're adding 8 new suits to the game truly speaks to their dedication to this game. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. We're going to circle back around to Xbox. Now, one of the most shocking announcements at the Xbox showcase for me was Gears of War E-Day. Oh my gosh. Completely blew my socks off. I didn't see that coming. Now, the thing is, it wasn't because it was Gears being shown, but because of the direction the story is going in. Now, Games Radar Plus was able to sit down with the game's creative director. His name is Matt Searcy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. His last name is spelled Searcy. Searcy. Maybe. Pardon me if I got your name wrong there, though, brother. But in an interview, they actually had him in there in the interview to get more details about the game, where it was confirmed that the game is set in the city of Kelowna, which is a brand new location for the franchise. Also, when asked about taking the series back to its more linear roots, Matt Searcy said, and I quote, "We know for sure that Gears, has those linear epic moments in them. We've done a bunch of them. We know how to do that. And we will absolutely be doing more of that." So it looks like for this outing, they'll definitely be going back to their roots and not going in the open world direction. So for people that were out there wondering, where is the game going to go? Is it going open world? Is it going to stay linear? What is the direction? We all know now officially that the game will be linear. Now, Matt Searcy also confirmed that E-Day won't be set over just one day, but will take place over multiple days. And E-Day is set entirely within a city, which again lends to the more linear experience. Now, I also heard that they're going to be trying to bring back that horror essence of the original Gears of War. Man, when you met those jokers, good grief, man, they some rough looking mother lovers. The Horde, they are something else. So this is just fantastic. I mean, just the direction that they're going in, seeing Dom back on the screen again. Oh my goodness. Did I say the Horde? I meant the Locust. It was just incredible. Just that whole reveal, it threw me off because I was looking at it. I'm like, man, that's Marcus Phoenix. But then I'm like, wait a minute, but he looks young though. What is going on? It was just amazing. So just the fact that these guys are working on this, and Phil Spencer. This was another thing that was said in an interview. It was with Ryan McCaffrey. I believe he had asked Phil Spencer, why did they go in this direction? And Phil Spencer simply said it was because the team, Rod Ferguson is no longer there, and the team wanted to build their own Gears of War. So this was their, I guess, kind of like their debut out to the gaming world, as it were. I mean, don't get me wrong. They also released, golly, what was the name of that game? Oh my goodness. How the world did I forget it that quickly? It was the game they brought out right after Gears of War 5, and it was phenomenal. I bought it. I couldn't believe how great the game was. I might remember it a little later, but going off of that as a track record, thinking about what they're going to do with this one on a much bigger scale, oh man, I am all in. I have nothing but full trust in what those guys, Hive Busters, that's the name. Shout out to Hive Busters. Golly, what a fantastic game. Fantastic. This team, like I said, this team, this is their AAA premiere, I guess, as it were, on this stage, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to make their mark because, again, whatchamacallit isn't there, and it makes sense. So we'll definitely have to see what happens with this. I'm very excited. Hopefully we get more information. I know we're not going to see anything for quite some time, but hopefully we'll get an update within the next year or so. And it's on Unreal Engine 5. Oh, y'all know it's going to be ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. We're going to jump into the next story. So let's get into some rumors.
Rumor has it is something that only I know.
So this next story that I got from Game Rant isn't necessarily a story, but more of a theory. So let's get this started. So none of us really know what the story is, what the story is going to be in GTA 6 outside of Lucia at one point in time serving some prison sentence. We don't know how long a sentence was, but we know she was in prison. And her boyfriend, his name is Jason. We really don't know anything outside of that as far as he is concerned. But what if I told you the character Jason is an undercover cop? Now, I know you're saying, wait a minute, I don't know about that. That may be a bit too far, but I have to say this Game Rant article really made it interesting. So let's say the guy Jason is an undercover cop. Now, with this theory, it's not a lot to go off of to make a case that he is an undercover cop. But however, if you think back to the trailer, it's a scene where the cops are doing a raid from the perspective of an officer's body camera. If you go back, they're kicking down the door, boom, it's grainy footage. It's absolutely cops raiding something. And thinking about it logically, since only Lucia and Jason are the only perspectives in the game, could this be the case? Also, the theme, this is the thing that really got me. The theme around this game seems to be trust. And who's to say that by the end of the game, a choice has to be made to either stick with each other and fight against the odds together, or actually turn against each other? Because we know that Grand Theft Auto, doggone Rockstar, gives no cares about our feelings when it comes to different characters getting knocked off. It just seems to be a staple when it comes to Rockstar games. I'm not going to get into any of the characters that have unfortunately lost their lives in these games due to spoilers possibly being the case. But I will say, if this is how this game is going to go, the guy Jason is an undercover cop. Some kind of way they rekindle him and Lucia. They used to run the streets together. I don't know. We don't know what kind of connections Lucia might have had before she went to prison. And all of a sudden he's snooping around. They're telling him, hey, the chief or, of the police department is telling him, hey, I need you to keep an eye on her. Weren't y'all friends back in the day? Well, do me a favor. Just keep an eye on her and let us know, our whereabouts and things of that nature. We'll have something real nice for you. You'll get detective, if you're actually able to, crack this case. I mean, again, this is only a theory. I mean, this theory might be way out there. Y'all might be saying, Kiaun, you have lost it. You should have never even reported this. But again, all of us, well, I'm not going to say all. I'll speak for me. I am highly anticipating Grand Theft Auto 6, and I am grasping at straws and anything, as far as this game goes, bringing out different details or things that are possibly going to happen in this game. I mean, we've been covering this game almost 3 years on this podcast. So just the fact that finally we have a concrete, at least release year. Well, I don't even know if that's concrete because we do know that Rockstar has no problem pushing back a game a whole nother calendar year. So we can't say that we're safe with the 2025 release date. All I can say is, hopefully we are. And, with that being said, just leading up to that release date, just so excited about any kind of news that I can get my hands on. But what about y'all? I'm just curious to know, do you guys think that that is a sound theory, that the guy Jason is actually law enforcement, undercover, following Lucia? Who knows, back in the day, like I was saying, they might have pulled a few jobs together. They might have been actually a couple back in the day. Maybe this is an old fling. Maybe they're just not just meeting each other. I mean, it could go so many different ways, but just knowing what Rockstar does and how their stories go, for some reason, I could just really see this potentially being one of the angles that they play. But I would love to hear from you guys and even hear from y'all to hear y'all's the story perspective that you guys think the game may go in. I would be very interested in that. If you want to be, again, part of listener feedback, either call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show at the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the next story that I actually got from GameSpot. So if you are looking forward, this is my game right here. If you guys are looking forward to Star Wars Outlaws like me, then maybe, just maybe, you have been wondering, how long will this adventure be? How long will this adventure last? I mean, after all, this is the first, the first open world Star Wars game. The first one of its kind. This is amazing. Oh, man, they're breaking new ground. So according to the game's creative director, Julian Griety, he had this to say as far as this is concerned. He said, quote, very, very early on, we decided this is going to be a 25 to 30 hours Golden Path adventure. 50 to 60 hours for completionists. End of quote. Now, by the way, the game does release on August 30th. If I'm not mistaken, I thought the game was supposed to come out August 20th. And it seemed like they pushed it up 10 days, but never mind. It's still fine. Still coming out this year. But my goodness, 25 to 30 hours. If you're just trying to complete, I guess I'm taking it. That's the story campaign, because that 50 to 60 hours is to complete everything. So with this Star Wars Outlaws, it seems like we are going to get a ton. I do mean a ton of gameplay, just depending on how you want to tackle the game. Where do you want to go? What do you want to see? I mean, what side mission are you interested in doing? Are you trying to be friends with Jabba the Hutt? That game right there, though. Oh, that game. That reputation system that they have in place. Oh my gosh. Just the fact that y'all remember that mission they did during the Ubisoft Forward where she had, done those people dirty. She got into the place, she infiltrated, shot down a couple of guys. She was already under a bad reputation as it was when she first got there. But just the fact that she did more dirt, I'm just imagining that what if you got to go back to that planet again, especially after learning, what this game is going to be about and how they will remember what you have done to them. If you did them dirty, they will remember. They'll start sending people out after you. Bounties will be on your head to get you. So imagine going back to that planet after you committed more dirt, then cross these people up more. I think it was Jabba the Hutt, the Hutt's sector or planet, whatever that was. No, was that, I always have a hard time pronouncing the name of it. Tweetine? I ain't even going to try. Tatooine. I think it was Tatooine you went to. I could be mistaken. But anyway, all I'm saying is the situation of doing people, wrong and them remembering you and putting out that hit for you. Oh man, that just changes the whole dynamic. It's things like that really, really make me extremely excited, for this game. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I do know that during the week when some people had played this game, there were reports that said it was a little concerning People had concerns about the game, but the creative director, he did come out. Now, granted, some of you guys may say that was just PR, Kiaun. Nothing more, nothing less. But he did come out and say that was just the demo. You know, don't judge the game off of that alone. Let the game release and actually, play it. Play the full finished version, as it were. But don't judge the game off of that. And me, I'm already sold. I'm in. You got my money day one. I'm already vested. Whatever game that I'm playing when this game comes out, it's getting put to the back burner immediately. So I would say again, don't judge it off of the previews that we've heard about. What I would say is, again, like I always say, if you guys are interested in this game, it was a game that you've been having your eye on for quite some time, darn those previewers. If it's something you want to play, then you play it. Don't let those guys sway your thought process or sway how you feel about the game. I've told you guys, I have played multiple games. They got terrible scores according to certain reviewers, and I got them. I had them in my hand, and I was like, dag, this was dope. I mean, Gotham Knights? I'm going to stand by that, brothers and sisters. That game was very, very good. I enjoyed every second of it. I ain't give a doggone what they were talking about. Reviewers be doggone. Didn't matter to me. It was a great game. So I would recommend, again, if this is the game or a game that you guys are looking forward to, stick to your guns and pick it up and, enjoy it. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. But anyway, I'm getting long-winded. We are going to get into the final story for this week. And I actually got this from Comic Book. Now, due to an Epic Games Store leak, several unannounced video games, thanks to Epic DP website, have possibly been leaked. Now, the list is as follows. God, dog, this is a big one. The Last of Us Part 2 on PC, which is codenamed, quote, Utah. They had some Turok game from Saber Interactive. Now, that's interesting. Hold on. Saber Interactive, a Turok game. Now, is this a remaster of the N64 version? I feel like they already did that, though, if I'm not mistaken. So could this be a new Turok game? Golly, I used to read Turok back in the day. Valiant Comics. He wasn't one of my favorites, though. Don't get it twisted. I only maybe read like one or two of the comic books. But Valiant, they were pretty good back in the day. I was more of an Image fan myself, but I digress. But who knows? Maybe be on the lookout for a new Turok game. I would love to see a new Turok game in this day and age, but that wasn't the only one. Another big one, which is interesting to me, is Red Dead Redemption, the original, the first one, allegedly coming to PC. Now, when I saw this, now this is a long shot, especially since they've already brought a so-called remaster of Red Dead Redemption out already. But I was hoping that with this announcement, and even though none of these, for the record, none of these have been announced by any of the publishers or developers, this is again a leak. So, again, take this with a mustard seed of truth that these games are real until we hear otherwise. But this Red Dead Redemption being released on PC, it at bare minimum made me hope that possibly we could get a real, true remaster, if not a remake of the original Red Dead Redemption, because I would absolutely buy that. But we will see what happens with this. The other game that was leaked as well, and this was another big one, a very, very interesting one that we've been hearing about for quite some time, was Final Fantasy IX. And that was codenamed, quote, Momo, which is a card based mini game that appeared in the original. So, I mean, we have this list, but that's not the only list. By the way, Final Fantasy IX remake, that would be awesome. Wow. That was one I missed. So hold on. Let me retract on that. I don't know if it would be awesome or not, because I wasn't very interested in this one because they went back to the mages, back to that older time period, back in the day. I was more so interested in Final Fantasy VII when it was set, not Final Fantasy VII, but Final Fantasy when it was set in the future. So they kind of lost me with Final Fantasy IX. But if they remade it, if it was a remake, might would give it a shot. It's a possibility. But also, according to Nintendo Life, another Tomb Raider bundle is going to be releasing, which I'm taking it that's probably going to be, if this is true, that's probably going to be the latest 3 that came out last generation. The 3 Tomb Raider games. Maybe they do some remasters on that, some kind of work with that. Who knows? But that is a very, very interesting choice if this turns out to be true. We also have Doom 64, codenamed Osiris 2.0 from Bethesda. Now, Doom 64. Now, we just saw that Doom. God, dog. Doom, the Dark Ages. Oh my gosh. That was unbelievable. Now, who knows with this Doom 64 situation? I have no idea what that's going to be. Could it be a remake? Could it be a remaster? I feel like Doom 64 has been done to death. I don't know what more you could do to the game outside of completely remaking it at this point. But who knows? We will see. Also, the biggest one on this list to me, the biggest one that got me the most excited outside of Red Dead Redemption, that is, I would have to say, is the Knights of the Old Republic remake from Saber Interactive. Now, that is under the code name Nightling. So just the fact that that is still in the works, we knew it was in the works. I mean, there was no doubt. So much so that Sony said they didn't want anything to do with it, which is why I'm still saying Microsoft, Xbox, I have faith in you now. Could you please pick this up and put it on your platform? Bare minimum, at least get the marketing rights. It would be sensational. The track that they are on, man, oh man, especially if this game actually turns out and it's good. Ooh, that could be serious. Think about it, Xbox. But yeah, that is the list of games. Who knows if these will officially come out? So again, like I just said a couple of minutes ago, take this list with a mustard seed of truth. Anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week. Now, because of time, we will not be having a video game theater. Not this week. We're going to definitely get back on track with that in the next episode. But what I want to do at this point in time is I want to go over the question of the week. And I know you guys saw it, and I thank you guys again for being here. But let's officially go over it. So, has Xbox put PlayStation on notice? And I say this. Now, I know that some people will say, no, they didn't put them on notice because all of their games are coming to PlayStation. What are you talking about? And I would tell you, okay, you are absolutely right, my brother. My sister, you are absolutely correct in your thinking. But it's one thing that Xbox has that PlayStation does not. And that is, my friend, Game Pass. Game Pass. That thing is a monster right now. Even a person like me who has no interest in Game Pass, never even thought about it. I want to own my games. I don't want a doggone service. I just want to own the games that I want to own. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that during the course of that show, man, I started looking at Game Pass sideways like, ooh, you're looking kind of good over there. I can't lie. I'm looking at that service like, God, dog. At this point in time, you're making it almost impossible not to at least sign up for at least a month or two. Because the plethora of games, oh my gosh, Doom, I just said it, the Dark Ages, doggone South of Midnight, Perfect Dark, Fable, oh my gosh, mind blown, complete mind blown. Blew my whole mind during this show. I said these jokers came out for blood. They came out for nothing less but a W. You want to talk about swinging and swinging and swinging and connecting. These jokers were connecting with some haymakers. So I know that Sony had to see that show. And these games are not going day and date. Even if it's a year from the day that it's released on Xbox, that is still an incentive to pick up an Xbox on top of the pricing. $17 or $18 a month for Game Pass, and you got Call of Duty in there. How? And you got a cheap Xbox, and I would not recommend the Series X. Y'all know how I feel about that joke. I can't stand that darn console. But if you have a casual that their main focus is not 4K 60, it's not, getting that premiere experience. They just want to get into next gen for the cheapest price possible. Man, I'm going to tell you, that is unbelievable value over on the Game Pass. Not the Game Pass, but the Xbox brand. And just the fact that 50% of PlayStation players have not upgraded to PlayStation 5. I got to bring that card back up. This is a possibility. It's potential here that customer may look over and see what Xbox is doing and say, shucks, you mean to tell me I don't ever have to buy any of their games again? I just stay subscribed to the service, this Game Pass thing, and they give me hundreds of games? Shucks, Gears of War is going to be in there, the new one. The new Halo is going to be in there. Call of Duty is going to be in there. Shucks, man, sign me up. I'm telling you, my whole thought process has changed when it comes to Game Pass. That was just unbelievable value. I'm sitting there just wow. I mean, it really made me look, it made me look at Sony like, I don't know. You are Sony. Y'all have this stuff on lockdown, complete lock. But doggone, I just can't turn a blind eye to what I just saw Xbox do. These jokers out here, man, they are swinging to connect. They're trying to knock something out with all of these games. And I understand, again, people can have that argument that, again, the games are coming to PlayStation 1. We don't know exactly what games are coming, even though Phil Spencer did say, oh, yeah, more are coming. God, dog, Phil. You didn't have to say nothing, my brother. You could have just sat up there and took this victory lap that Xbox fans have been talking about for a decade. After a decade, man, I gotta say this. After a decade of no water, no food, no shelter, no shoes, these jokers finally got the show of Xbox dreams out this mother lover. They finally got that show. That E3 show that everybody hoped for. Everybody said, wait till next year. Just wait till next year. Sounding like doggone Linus in the daggone pumpkin patch. You know, wait till next year. He's going to come through. It's going to be amazing. Man, they finally got it. And I was sitting there in amazement. So with all of that being said, Game Pass, day and date, not having to pay $70, having it in the service. Do you think, again, has Xbox put PlayStation on notice? I would absolutely love to get you guys' thoughts and opinions on this because let me tell you something. Wow. If these games were not going to PlayStation, and we knew for a fact nothing was touching PlayStation, because right now we don't know which games it's going to be. Phil Spencer just said more are unfortunately coming. But I have to go out on a limb, and I have to say after that show, if none of these games were going to PlayStation, I think they would have started selling Xboxes at an unbelievable clip because they showed everything. And when I say everything, I mean something for every gamer out there. They got you with something, and they got me with several. That has never happened. I'm talking about a good 6 or 7 games that I really want to play. They got me with. So, because, again, they are going to PlayStation, it definitely takes a bit of the wind out of the sails to a certain degree, but still, that show was high-octane fire. And I'm of the mindset that I do believe that Xbox has put Sony on notice. Because who's to say? Now, granted, we know Satya Nadella, this is his thing. He likes this service, games as a service, not games as a service, but, just having these services that people have to pay for every month. I'm sure that Phil Spencer, he was trying to find a guideline where he could fit in. And this was his angle. But who's to say? Because Phil Spencer was also, he had this attitude before, I believe Satya Nadella even got there. During the Xbox One era, where he said Quantum Break was going to PC day and date. And I believe that was under, what was his name? Meyerson. He wasn't really trying to give Xbox too much money or any resources at that time. And already doggone Phil Spencer wanted to be the nice guy and, give games on PC, day and date with console. Now, who's to say? Phil Spencer has been there a long time. And Phil, I got to say, man, I've been very, very hard on this guy. I got to give him his credit. This was the best show that he ever put on, man. I just couldn't get over it. I still can't get over it. So I just want to give him his flowers for just putting on a great show. But who's to say Phil Spencer eventually, he is going to retire. Now, when that next person comes in, I don't know if that's Sarah Bond. I don't know if it's Matt Booty. I don't know if it's somebody that we have not seen yet. But they may have a different philosophy when it comes to their games actually going to PlayStation. They might get a Peter Moore up in that mother level where he's like, I want to compete. I want competition. We're scratching that. Outside of Call of Duty, we don't have any obligations to give them anything. So because we're not obligated, I'm not giving them anything. I mean, who's to say a new guard comes in there and all of a sudden you got a whole different situation going? But granted, we would have to get there. Xbox would have to survive at least another generation in order for that to potentially be the angle that they go down. But either way, how it goes, I'm sticking by that they definitely put PlayStation on notice. This was just a sensational show. Absolutely amazing. And they definitely, they showed Sony, hey, we're not backing down. Yeah, we're going to give you a couple of joints, but we're still going to compete when it comes to these games. Indiana Jones, God, dog. That was a long cutscene, I will admit. I would have much rather had more gameplay, but still, sensational show. But I would love to get you guys' thoughts on this. Again, the question, has Xbox put PlayStation on notice? If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. You can either email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Or you can call in and let your voice be heard at 443-380-0281. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and again, I want to thank y'all for being here. So with that being said, before we officially wrap this thing up and put a bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So I will get up with you guys sometime next week. But until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.